So this morning I'm going to continue on with the Eastern backhand, and we're going to look at an important point. I have a student, a friend of mine here. This is Katrina. Katrina is going to join me. She is a 2.5 player, but she's easily going to be moving up in the USTA ranking. She's been really dedicated and taking a lot of lessons and progressing really, really well. We're advancing from the Continental grip that we started out with. The Continental grip, that racket is straight up and down. The knuckle is on that second bevel on the outside. We've talked about that in other videos. The path of the racket as it goes out, we're going to look at another point of view. In my previous video, I discussed how the racket leads. Well, in essence, that's true. But why don't we look at our body? We're going to be talking about the actual joint that moves, and the joint that's moving is the shoulder joint. Nothing else moves from my elbow to my wrist. I don't want to do anything fancy. I want to wait until that racket is back before that occurs. Then I can relax and let the racket swing forward. It's an important point because oftentimes we're trying to do something too creative here that's adding distance to our backswing, and then the racket may not be in the correct position to strike the ball. Now, why I'm pointing that out with the Continental grip is the Eastern grip is for the most part identical in its path. It's the shoulder that takes the racket back. There's no additional movement in your wrist. There's no additional movement in your elbow. The racket is moved by your shoulder. Now it's in a position where we can load the elbow, we can let the wrist relax and snap through the ball as we're hitting. So we're going to run through some practice swings. Katrina and I, I'm going to feed her some balls hand-fed, and we're going to really isolate that shoulder. And then we're going to start out with Continental, and then we're going to go to Eastern. And another reason that I have her do that is that a ball that is not in her strike zone when we're hitting with the Eastern grip, she needs to change that to Continental. Maybe it's a ball that she's scrambling forward to that she's going to hit, or a ball that's well out of her reach she has to take multiple steps to get to. It's too far to maintain the Eastern to get there. It would be more of a desperation swing at that point. Whereas by turning the racket into Continental, as she moves out to get it, she can place that ball back into play and continue the point. Remember, the Continental grip is more of a placement shot. It's not a power hitting shot. It's your lobs, it's your drop shots, it's your placement down the line, placement cross court, volleys, overhead, serves. There's so many things that Continental grip does that the Eastern can do, but not as effectively. So to recap, the swing path is virtually the same for both Continental and Eastern. It's that shoulder rotation. One last point. As the shoulder's rotating out, I don't want to leave the racket behind. You can see as I'm turning here, I don't want that racket behind my hand. That's a technique for the semi-Western grip where the hand is leading and through. So I'm going to ask Katrina as she starts to make sure that that racket is slightly tipped in her wrist so that when she moves her shoulder to get the racket back, the racket is, for the most part, behind her hand. It's leading to get there. Again, the joint movement is coming from the shoulder first. Okay, let's give that a try. I'm going to drop feed some balls to Katrina, and then we'll go from there and see about corrections, anything that we need to make. I'm going to park us right here first. So we look at the contact point. So Katrina, you're going to use the Continental grip, so the racket is straight up and down. As you take the racket back with your wrist, let it turn out just ever so slightly. But that's so as you move at the shoulder, don't move your elbow, as you move at the shoulder. That's right, the racket now is leading. There you go. Let's do that again. There you go. Now there's a coordination. Your right leg and the racket go out together. That's right. So you can see you're getting a little bend here. Don't let that move at all. concentrate on your shoulder. You can kind of tighten up that elbow. Now you can relax the elbow as you would step through and swing. That's right. The right leg goes out with the racket. That's it. We want a little more rigidity in that arm as you're bringing the racket back, and then it's loosening up before the swing. So let's look at that again. So the racket slightly turned out an inch. Keep this elbow steady. Everything in your arm is steady. It's coming from your shoulder as you come out, right? And the one thing that we missed on that, the right leg's gonna step out with the racket. So it steps out at the same time the racket goes back, the left leg goes forward, and then you swing through. That's it. That is it. Do that again. Very nice. So the shoulder again is the only thing that we're swinging with at that point, and this is with the Continental grip. All right, I'm gonna drop feed you. So I'm gonna hand you some balls. Now remember, the Continental grip, the swing is back a little bit. Okay, you're gonna be looking at the ball as you swing at that and hit. Good. And down and through. Very nice. It's smooth and easy. And we're starting with this because as we advance to the Eastern, the path of the racket is virtually the same. I'm gonna back us up here a little bit so we can see what's happening. The path of the racket is virtually the same with the arm. Very nice. Very good. That right leg over. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Very nice. Again, the Continental grip affords you defense or placement. So you don't think of it as a power swing. It can drive the ball, but because you're hitting it so flat, there's chances of driving it too long or so level that it's going to drop into the net. This looks really good. Shoulder. Start with that arm and that shoulder, and then through. Beautiful. It becomes so easy to hit. Let's take a look at from behind what that looks like. There we go. All right, shoulder. Good. Shoulder. Very nice. Shoulder. Very good. Shoulder. Excellent. The shoulder brings the racket back in that initial backswing. Here we go. Shoulder and through. Good. Let's try a higher ball. Because you're taking the racket back high, because it's already high as you turn, the higher ball, you don't have to drop the racket and you're just coming right through. So there was a little extra movement there with that arm. Isolate everything in the arm, the shoulder turns, and then relax the arm after you've got it back and bring it through. Very nice. So let's look at the Eastern grip. And we've gone from Continental, and now we're gonna turn the racket so it's on 45-degree angle, but our knuckle is on this flat edge. The racket virtually goes back the same way from the shoulder, but even as I take that back, the position of my racket in front of me, the racket's tipped back a little, that when I do that, it's the first thing that leads. So as the racket goes back, it's ready. As a matter of fact, the butt end is now pointing into the court. I need a little bit more length. My right leg goes out, that turns, but look, if I stopped right here and turn and face the court, the racket isn't that far behind me. I want to eliminate any great distance back there. It's not necessary. And if I'm playing against heavy balls, the further back I get away from the ball, the longer I have to catch up to it. So I want to be careful that I'm not taking that racket back so far. It's not necessary. Racket's tipped back, right leg out with the racket. The ball is still not way out in front of me. We need to look at, with this grip, taking a little bit later, and then I'm driving through. So right leg out, shoulders the only thing that took the racket back. I relax my arm when I'm back here, and then I'm swinging at that ball. All right, let's get Katrina back. We're gonna look at the same path, but she is now in her Eastern grip. I'm gonna move you a little bit more over here. And she is in her Eastern grip, pull that back a little bit for us so we get a better view. Shoulder takes that racket back. Let's do that without me. So shoulder and through. That's it. Shoulder and through. Very nice. Now we're starting to get a slight topspin on the ball. She's driving it effortlessly, and we're getting the depth that we want. We'll see that in a second. Shoulder takes the racket back and through. Nicely done. Shoulder and through. Notice how simple she's hitting. She's not muscling the ball. We want to meet it. And remember, I have a rule. We call it the pace of the ball rule. To maintain consistency without losing control and keeping the ball in play, the pace of the ball rule is that your effort or your intention when you strike the ball is the same pace or less, never more. If it's more and I add to the ball, that creates some problems. I may or may not make the shot. Shoulder and through. Excellent. Shoulder and through. Excellent. So we're going to see a difference now as we come back here. There's a little bit of topspin on the ball. It's natural because of the way the racket is tipped forward in that Eastern grip. Katrina is having to do nothing different. Shoulder and through. Good. Shoulder and through. Very nice. Shoulder and through. Excellent. Look at the height she's getting without any effort. And we're hitting that ball. It's hitting inside the court, well inside the court, and it's bouncing all the way to the fence. No effort again. Shoulder and through. Beautiful. Shoulder and through. Excellent. Shoulder and through. Couldn't be more perfect. Shoulder and through. And she's hitting with the same path, but what she is achieving is two different types of swings. The Eastern is an aggressive swing. The Continental is a more of a placement type shot. So here we go. Same swing path with the Eastern. Very good. And she's driving this ball just because of the grip, and it's giving it some topspin. Now you're going to step out to the side a little more instead of stepping back. There you go. Let's move you a little bit to your left. Come over this way a little bit. Here we go. Good. I'm going to give you a little lower ball. Very nice. Very nice. Excellent. Those are not easy when they're coming that quickly. You have to be prepared, but it's from the shoulder. Shoulder. Very good. Patience. Shoulder. Good. Remember, pace of the ball. My ball is so slow. You don't have to put any effort into that. That's the way to strike. Now, let me move Katrina over for a second to her left. And remember, she's using the Eastern grip. It's tipped about 45 degrees. In the Continental grip, straight up and down. Your left hand is responsible for making that change. Your left hand is on the throat of the racket. And as I see the ball, I make that quick determination that this is not in my strike zone. I change it to Continental. I'm reaching over for it, and I'm using the Continental to keep it in play. I realize, instantly, this is in my strike zone. I can get it. I keep it in Eastern. That's where I should be in the first place. Go back with my shoulder, and then I'm making my swing. Katrina's going to take two balls. She's going to take one with her Eastern grip, and then she's going to take one in Continental that's not going to be in her strike zone. So the first one is an Eastern, shoulder back. Good. She's still in Eastern. Now she changes her grip to Continental. She has to move away for that ball, and then she keeps it in play with a nice depth in her swing. Let's move you a little bit more to your left. Here we go. Eastern, it's the shoulder. Beautiful. But now the ball's a little further away. She goes where Continental makes that instant decision, because if the ball isn't in her strike zone, she's got to reach further for that ball. The Eastern might be too difficult to get. Here we go. Eastern again. Good. Maybe this is Eastern too. Good. She doesn't know what's coming yet. She has to make her own decision. But there's one that's too far away. That's it. So we're practicing now going between one grip and the other. Here we go again. Let's move her a little bit more to the left. Here we go. That looks Eastern. Good. Keep it in Eastern. Good, but maybe this one's a little bit too far. She's coming over in Continental and she instantly makes that adjustment. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We're building a little bit upon an earlier video when we talked about the Continental grip and the Eastern grip. But more importantly, in the previous video, I mentioned the racket leads, which is true, but I want you to isolate and concentrate on the shoulder making the turn. That's the joint that's moving at this point, nothing else. And the racket can relax in the back as you're coming through. Now we'll add another video a little bit later where we talk about loading the elbow and getting a little bit more of a snap on the ball. You can create just as much topspin with that Eastern grip. It's something that you build on. It's not something you want to start right away, but it does provide you an opportunity to maybe get away from the semi-Western grip and start using the Eastern more, which I think can be more consistent. It gives you the depth that you need, and it's a great all-round court grip, whereas the semi-Western, fabulous, but if you're not hitting depth with it with that topspin, it may not be the right grip for you. Now let's give that a try, see if that helps you.